The Presidential Election Tribunal today ruled against the televising or live telecasts of the proceedings. And today, President Muhammadu Buhari launched the Dangote refinery, a milestone for Nigeria and breaking the jinx of refining oil on Nigerian soil. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Abuja. Tonight is some good news for every Nigerian because this is somewhat breaking the jinx of what has become some kind of curse where Nigeria has enormous oil under the ground, but we had to import those crude to then import refined materials back into Nigeria for local consumption. But today, after several years of no refinery working on Nigerian soil, we might be seeing refined product being produced right on Nigerian soil. And that's thanks to Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemical, which was launched today and hopefully will begin work in another few weeks. That Dangote refinery is sitting on over 2,000 hectares of land in the Ibeju-Lekki area of Lagos. President Muhammadu Buhari had described the establishment of the refinery as a game changer and milestone for Nigeria's economy.
We recognize that without active participation of the private sector and a strong commitment to public-private partnership, our economy would continue to remain severely challenged and our economic growth impeded. Government, therefore, will and should continue to provide an enabling environment and encourage innovative public-private partnership in all sectors of our economy. Our administration has demonstrated its commitment to this in many areas, such as our Executive Order 007 of 2019, which facilitated the rehabilitation, construction of many roads by private sector investors using tax credit scheme. It is my hope that the succeeding administration will continue to apply such innovative schemes in partnership with the private sector to accelerate the provision of critical infrastructure, in particular roads, power, and gas pipelines.
Our first goal is to ramp up production of the various production to ensure that within this year, we are able to fully satisfy our nation's demand for higher quality products to enable us to eliminate the tragedy of import dependency and stop once and for all the dumping in our market of toxic substandard petroleum products. Our first product will be in the market before the end of July, beginning of August this year.
Love him, hate him. This project was commenced in 2017 when President Muhammadu Buhari was at the helm of affairs in this nation. And it got completed under his stewardship. We have to acknowledge and commend him. And acknowledge and commend the government and people of Lagos State for creating the enabling environment for this project to come to fruition. I wish to once again congratulate the Aliko Dangote Group for this gigantic project and also use this opportunity to assure that the incoming administration will do whatever possible to upscale and sustain the tempo of this project.
If I say congratulations, a lot of people may not understand if you are not a Nigerian. But for those who know the history of this country, when it comes to the enormous wealth under the ground in terms of oil, we understand where we are coming from. When you have 4 refineries and none of that is working, and through a private initiative, this is working, you might be able to understand what that congratulations mean. Congratulations to Dangote, Lagos people, and Nigerians at large. Well, let's begin this conversation tonight on the program. Governor Matawalle has accused the EFCC boss, Abdulrasheed Bawa, of requesting $2 million bribe from him when the EFCC came out to say the governor has allegedly siphoned and fraudulently diverted over 70 billion naira of loans coming from commercial banks for possible private use. Well, that became a very major issue. We'll be discussing that tonight. What Mr. Matawalle said, whose term in office will be expiring in a matter of less than a week. Then tonight, we will also be getting some perspective on the legal angles of what happened at the tribunal when the 5 judges at the tribunal unanimously ruled against the live broadcast of the proceedings as being sought by the PDP and the Labour Party. The applications have been dismissed by the judges. We'll be getting the implication of that tonight, so stick around with me, everyone. Seems to be some interesting conversation that we'll be having, because we need to serve you with your political roundup stories, and we begin the conversation afterwards.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Olumide Ariwola, is urging all critical stakeholders to synergize to tackle human trafficking and other issues of gender-based violence in the country. Justice Ariwola was speaking at the opening ceremony of the 2023 Biennial Conference of the National Association of Women Judges in Nigeria. The CGN says the fight against human trafficking is pertinent because it largely affects women and vulnerable persons in the society. According to him, the salient issue which has taken a new dimension, including organ harvesting, is a cankerworm eaten deep into all spheres of the country. He urged all female judges to uphold the rule of law and ensure women get equal access to justice in the country. A high court sitting in Kano has struck out the case filed against Alassane Ado Dogowa for failing to follow due process. Delivering the judgment, the presiding judge Mohammed Nasiru Yunusa said the police, after arresting the respondent, held him for more than the permissible time. Similarly, the magistrate court where the respondent was initially arraigned by the police has no jurisdiction to hear a case on culpable homicide and possession of illegal firearms. The Abia State Governor-elect Dr. Alex Oti says the mandate given to him by the people of Abia State is sacrosanct, calling on the people of the state not to be bothered about the recent judgment of the Federal High Court sitting in Kano, dismissing his candidacy in the March 18 governorship election. Mr. Oti was speaking while receiving the report from the chairman of the Abia State Transition Council, Mr. Victor Onyekpa Inaba, ahead of the May 29 inauguration ceremony. He assured the committee that his administration will ensure full implementation of the report.
I'd like to reassure you that the mandate that the Abia people gave us is sacrosanct.
Former Minister of State Works and Housing, Mr. Dayo Adeyeye, says the President-elect Bola Tinubu will announce his cabinet as soon as he's sworn into office. Mr. Adeyeye, who was the leader of the Southwest movement for the election of the President-elect, insists that the Senator Bola Tinubu administration will tackle insecurity and the state of the economy.
There will be a turnaround for the better in terms of the economy, the security challenges that we have in the country. And actually, Bola Tinubu is the best person well-positioned to tackle this problem.
Some members of the ruling All Progressives Congress, under the aegis of the Conference of Concerned North Central Professionals, are asking the incoming administration of Senator Bola Tinubu to reward the region with the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. The group made a demand at the roundtable in Abuja, where participants spoke on the topic, participatory democracy and the place of the North Central in Nigeria's political journey.
If we are demanding for a space in the incoming administration, it is our prerogative right. We deserve it, and that is why we are asking for it.
A social political pressure group and non-governmental organization is appealing to the leadership of the All Progressives Congress to jettison its zoning of leadership positions in the 10th National Assembly and allow for free contest among the candidates in the interest of democracy. At a media briefing, the convener, Safiya Ibrahim, said Governor Abdulaziz Abubakar Yari has the qualities and support of the National Assembly members to lead them to a vibrant assembly.
Thank you so much indeed, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. So before we get into the matter of the live broadcast of the Presidential Election Tribunal, we'll be getting a very senior lawyer to give us perspectives on what it means, the implication of the ruling of today. Let's first and foremost touch on what is happening between the EFCC and Mr. Matawalle, the governor of Zamfara State. Let's begin with what is happening in that regard. So the EFCC came out to say Governor Matawalle of Zamfara State is being investigated over allegations of fraudulently diverting over 70 billion naira meant for some projects in the state. The EFCC ruled out in a statement, in a press conference held last week of some of these issues. They said they're investigating the governor over allegations of corruption, allegations of award of phantom contract, allegations of diversion of over 70 billion naira, allegations of diverting money sourced as a loan from an old commercial new generation bank, and that money is purportedly meant for the execution of projects across the local government areas of the state. The FCC went further that it is investigating the governor over the fact that some of these projects and the money is meant for these projects for over 100 companies reportedly received the payment from the funds. It is said also that no evidence of a service rendered to the state in respect of the funds. The EFCC also claimed that some of the contractors who had been invited and quizzed by the commission made startling revelations. And some of these revelations, as much as that they are compelling to the fact that the governor had asked, allegedly, that some of these people to return the funds received from the state covers back to him through his aides after converting the same funds into the United States dollars. These are some of the allegations that the EFCC has ruled out against Governor Matawalle of Zamfara State. Well, the governor has come out, and now he came out in full force against the EFCC board. And this is the allegation that he made. He said that EFCC chairman, that is Mr. Abdurrashid Bauer, has requested $2 million from him as bribe. And let me allow you to see what he said. And I quote him in an interview where he was reportedly to have been responding to some of these issues. He said, "I'm not resisting being probed. I'm still the governor and I have immunity. No one has invited me." The EFCC said they were investigating me. It was when I spoke that they made allegations against me. He, referring to Mr. Bauer, the EFCC boss, knows what he begged me to give him, which I did not. When said several other things in respect of that, allegations of Mr. Bauer requesting $2 million from him as bribe. Let's get some perspectives on these one. And I have joining me virtually from his ex in the United Kingdom, Mr. Oladewaju Suraj. Is a right activist and the chairman of HIDA, a right organization in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Mr. Suraj, for your time tonight. Give us perspective.
Thank you for having me, sir.
What do you know about this matter? And what do Nigerians need to understand in the ramifications of this case?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it is very important that we always get to be guided by history, and we need to learn from it. Unfortunately, this has been the trend and almost the practice for politicians, especially and particularly governors, right from when the EFCC was headed by Nuhu Ribadu. If you remember very well, this was the former governor of Kwara State, Kola Saraki, the former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, all started the whole campaign against Ribadu, even to the extent of where his life was threatened and was almost killed at that time. So he was actually somebody removed from office by the late President Umar Musa Yaradua. The same thing just happened with Magu. If you remember how Magu was also forced out of office, and this was unfortunately orchestrated by not less anything than the Attorney General of the Federation, who was actually meant to protect Magu as the supervisory agency. And this is also coming down to the situation where there will be transition. So particularly those governors who would be leaving office would be at the forefront. Unfortunately, this is where we are having the sad aspect of a governor now coming out to accuse the EFCC chairman, particularly of demanding bribe. And for that reason, nobody is going to say, yeah, if you have such an evidence, for someone, two things are clear here. It is either Matawalle is also guilty of those allegations of diverting the 70 billion naira that he's been accused of diverting, which means that forms the basis for the qualification of that right that he alleged. In the absence of that, or in the natural fact of that, it is also expected of Matawalle, if he has such as evidence and is genuinely saying the truth, to have actually used that as an opportunity to date the EFCC chairman by making him collect the bribe and then paying the bill on him. It is not going to be possible for someone who is already under investigation. And if you understand how these investigations work, it is not just when letters are written to Matawalle that the investigation begins. Investigation must have gone on for, God knows, weeks, months before it gets to the governor. I mean, has been someone who's privy to the operations of the anti-corruption agencies and law enforcement agencies. It could have taken nothing less than a year for this process to have commenced. So it would be an interesting time. I remember how we started with that, the governor of Kogi, and we could see the money that was recovered by EFCC against the governor of Kogi from Sterling Bank. And these were money that were still as loans to be used for the support of the state and also to pay salaries. These salaries are still being owed, unfortunately, and the money was sitting down on the bank. The governor of Kogi denied, but we have the money, had to denied what you have the evidence. Unfortunately, the whole thing started. And we, as an organization, did not make any statement on that, because we have a court from Kogi which said, oh, okay, no, the action should not have been taken. And also was threatening to commit the power to prison tax. For us, there shouldn't be any reason for the refusal to obey a full court decision. And that was why we wanted to see what happened. And it was interesting that the Court of Appeal last week actually threw out the decision of the Kogi judge and demanded that the chief judge should assign the case to another person, which means there was a miscarriage of justice in the decision of that judge. Unfortunately, some of the civil society organizations are also on the basis of that demanded that Bauer should be removed from office. And we are looking at where the institution needs to be protected. It is not about individual. It is not just about Bauer. And that was why we criticized strongly when Magu was also removed under the circumstances that he was removed. There must be security of them. And there's no other thing, because many of them know that there's a new government coming into office. So there's a need to ensure all this kind of campaign of calumny to the extent that the Bauer can either be removed. If Bauer is found to be guilty under any circumstances, yes, the right thing should be done. But not where politicians, there's no way you can find, a chicken to actually be in any way innocent in the court of the foxes. And that is what we have with the government. So many of these governors, who we all know, that are usually almost emperor in their state. And I say almost all the governors. There's no form of accountability that you can find in any of our states after today. And there's no way any of them will be investigated and they won't be issued of case. So we all know about it. So when we have these kind of allegations, we want to see not to deal with the mere allegations and more things. If we want to see concrete evidence, and I'm sure EFCC will have evidence to bring against
Mr. Suraj, yeah. So, I mean, there are some principles under the Nigerian legal system which, of course, for example, the principle of assumption of innocence until proven guilty. In this case, the EFCC, although may have the powers to investigate a governor who is covered by immunity, but does not have the power to prosecute because of the immunity cover that a governor enjoys, just as the president also enjoys such an immunity. So the governor has few days to leave office. And the governor is alleging, from one court, what we are understanding is that this is some kind of witch hunt. The governor says something today, tomorrow the EFCC comes after him. Looks like what we have heard before. I mean, an action that looks like a witch hunt. And the allegations that EFCC is bringing up the governor is going to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Shouldn't he be given that opportunity?
Well, unfortunately, the governor came out first. So it is not just like you said, the governor came out and said something, and then EFCC has to defend itself. Are you expecting that EFCC be quiet when the governor came up with that level of allegation, either false or genuine? I mean, definitely EFCC would also have to come out. There must be a basis. So this is also the issue about the presumption of, let us listen for the sake of argument, assume that the governor Matawalle is innocent, as he said, until he's proven guilty. But there was an allegation which came out first. So it wasn't the EFCC that came out first to accuse Matawalle of anything. But Matawalle
this is the premise, Mr. Suraj. Mr. Matawalle has said that the EFCC should stop being one-sided in its investigation. Just remember, he said that the governor, that they should not focus only on the governors, that they should also focus on the presidency and members of the cabinet. And a few days later, the EFCC came after him, and he is alleging witch hunt.
I totally agree with you, and I totally agree with him on that basis. We are not going to allow all of them, including those family members of the president, including those who are ministers, and there are several allegations against the minister. If it is about witch hunt, we need to hunt all the witches. So there shouldn't be any separation of saying one is federal, one is state. All of them must be investigated, including the new contracts that are just being awarded. And for us, my organization, for instance, just wrote a petition against the Minister of Communication over the attempt to do the 24 billion internet in hospitals. Public internet and in the airport within a month of leaving office. And for us, that is not possible. That is also a way of siphoning funds. All of them must be investigated as long as we are. I agree. Matawalle should submit himself to investigation and then call for the investigation of the other. But that is not a basis to say, I must not be investigated if others are not investigated. No. If you are being investigated, go there and clear your name. And EFCC must also go ahead to ensure that all the other people, either at federal, at state, at the local government, unfortunately, it does in the EFCC doing the most of the real job. So you also need to give some kind of, slack. You need to cut EFCC some slack that it can't do everything. We need the Code of Conduct rule. Unfortunately, that is almost like in a comatose. And the Code of Conduct Tribunal, which is also one of the failures of the President Buhari regime, failed to rejig the Code of Conduct Tribunal to have it prosecute all the cases that have been investigated. For the last check, there are about 500 cases that the Code of Conduct Bureau has submitted to the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The chairman is just on a frolic on his own, and there's nobody that is monitoring. That is also very unfortunate. So we need the Code of Conduct Bureau. We need the ICTC.
So, Mr. Suraj, so if we look at the scenario, the situation between Mr. Matawalle and the EFCC boss, Mr. Matawalle has said, look, the EFCC boss, he knows where we met. He asked me for $2 million bribe. Can the person who is alleged to have requested for a bribe be the one sitting on investigating a governor? In this sense, where does the issue of fair hearing comes in this matter? What would you advise that the EFCC does for someone who, in fact, when you are before a court and you do not feel that you will get justice in front of that court, you ask the court to you ask the judge to recuse himself, or you ask that you cannot get justice in front of the court. Can the EFCC, whom is boss, this man, who have been alleged to have siphoned over 70 billion, and he said the EFCC boss has requested $2 million US from him, can they rightfully sit on investigating this man?
There's absolutely nothing stopping EFCC from investigating the case. Like you rightly also said, there's always the need for fairness. So if Matawalle is investigated by EFCC and he has the evidence to the extent of the demand for bribes, that would be a basis for him to present before the court and say this is actually not a fair investigation or prosecution. So it should gather his evidence to go to court. But that would not be a basis because somebody has alleged. It's not like somebody saying, oh, because you want to present some of the facts on your program, that it is because you have asked for money. And your management say, oh, because somebody said you have asked for money. Without evidence, without any proven evidence that you should not appear on your program again, that would be very unfair to you. There must be a basis and substance that would have to convince anybody. Before the governor said, we met, where did you meet? Tell the public. If you don't want to tell the public, please put up a complaint with the evidence that can convince either the appointing authority of the national or the national assembly to then demand for the suspension, removal, and prosecution of Bawa. But in the absence of that, we must allow people to just use the basis of saying somebody has solicited bribes. So for that reason, it should not discharge its fundamental or the statutory duty for which it's appointed. I think that will not be fair to our institutions, and that will just allow for people to come up with such level of allegations to increase investigation and prosecution. But if he is speaking the truth and he has the evidence, allow the EFCC to go ahead with these investigations. At the point when you are about to bring up your defense, then you go ahead and raise the preliminary objection on the basis of all this evidence that you have. But we can't use that as a basis to say, oh no, so EFCC should not, because that one is not the one that is actually investigating. There are other people that will investigate us that are there, and that is the basis that I think we must approach some of this. And that is what the politicians want us to do. They want to problematize, they want to create this level of, understanding that, asking to excuse himself, and then the whole thing gets messy and not getting what we want from the law enforcement agencies. But what we can't in any way, like I said, the EFCC is already statutorily bound to do its work. And there are bases for you to raise level of that allegation and raise objection. And that can also even be raised with the Ministry of Justice or to the presidency of any other supervisory agency, even the National Assembly, with evidence for that to happen. But I totally disagree that, EFCC cannot do its work because somebody has raised allegation against the chairman.
So I'd like to say, ask you, Mr. Suraj, if you look at it, the EFCC also come out to say, look, we in the close to the end of the tenure of some of these people in executive office, a lot of them had already traveled out of the country. That in fact they are working with international organizations and other countries to ensure that these persons are brought to book. Are you worried about the manner in which things are going? And suddenly, people are already running from justice in this country. How much of trust do you have in some of these countries to helping Nigeria bring back some of these people who have the feeling that they may have stolen Nigerian money in their state or wherever and run out of the country?
Sincerely, I'm more than worried. I don't really have any hope. If I go by the recent developments in the country, in these countries, look at the case of Davian, who has been in the UK for the past 8 years. Unfortunately, Marco cried himself, who has, until he got out of office, that they've given all the necessary evidence and information that would necessitate the prosecution of Davian. And we were following that case. And I can tell you for a fact that as at early last year, one of the prosecutors or the law enforcement agents in the UK confirmed to us that everything is ready and Davian will be in court not later than July last year. But unfortunately, the politics that have been, mind you, Davian has not been on bail in the UK, and she's been living her life. We thought things would be different. What was his name? There was this recent report where it was also alleged that the former chief of army staff, Buratai, requested the chairman of the Nigerian Army property, whatever, to pay $730,000 to get a Saudi citizenship or something like that, because quite a number of them are using public funds to secure the citizenship of several countries where they know that they will be protected. And they have properties in this list. We had a report of about 800 properties that are owned by less than 50 Nigerians, the governors, security agents, law enforcement agents, parliamentarians in Dubai alone. And the last one we did was just about 13 properties in the UK. So 16 properties owned by 10 people. What about 120 million? It's there in the US. It's there in the UK. And the law enforcement agencies have these reports on these properties, and nothing has happened. Look at the OPL 245 case that we've been fighting for over 10 years now. The case in Italy was almost badly decided, worse than what you would have expected in Nigeria, to the extent that the OECD working group on bribery criticized the Italian system and the judicial system of failing to abide by their convention against bribery.
Right.
So we really don't have that security or assurances of the international. So we must do everything possible to reform our judicial system and ensure that people don't escape to these countries where they have already siphoned and hidden their stolen assets.
Stay with me, Mr. Suraj. We take a moment, and when we come back, I'll get your final thought. Plus, we'll be getting some perspectives and insights into the decision of the Presidential Election Tribunal, which says that there will be no live telecast of the proceedings in the Presidential Election Tribunal. We'll be getting the legal angles and the implications of these based on the PDP and Labour Party's application before the court. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. So let's get our closing moment thought with Mr. Olariwaju Suraj, who is the chairman of HIDA, civil rights organization here in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Olariwaju, for your time tonight. On your final thought on this matter, because I know this Zamfara matter, this may not be the last that we are hearing from it, and this may just be one out of, there are 28 governors that are involved in an election this year, and several of them are leaving office, and there might be issue as to giving account of how they spend the state resources, and which will be a big issue. One of the governors in this country has said, there is no way you want to be a governor for, even if it's for 1 year, that you now have something to answer for as regards the funding and the finances and resources of the state. Going forward, with the manner in which things have gone and the magnitude of some of the allegations of corruption that we have seen, what should Nigerians be hoping for? Are things better? And there are hopes of getting people more accountable to the resources put into their hands, especially at the state level. And as the cabinet, which the governor said, also focus on what is happening at the center.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think if you really ask me sincerely, things are really not getting better. I think our politicians are becoming more brazen. This was just like recently one of those governors that are leaving office was just accused of allocating over 2 billion naira to purchase vehicles for himself and also the deputy governor. So there will be so much of this kind of aid that we would be expecting. We have thought that with the effort of the Buhari regime, and if there's anybody in the Buhari regime that was actually fighting corruption, as part of politicians or politically appointed persons, I think it's just going to be Buhari that we need to check how much of that we're really also going to see with him. But every other person around him are almost immense in one allegation of corruption or the other. So things really are not getting better. And until we investigate all of them and also review their time in office, it might still be like even a worse situation than we had under Jonathan. So, but going ahead, we must also understand the need to not join them in allowing the politicization of the fight against corruption. Everybody must come. If EFCC is able to do 10 out of 28, we should commend it. We should get ICPC and the rest to do the one. If EFCC is able to do 5 of ministers, we should. For the new government,
all right,
society and the media, an agenda that we need to assess, so that when we're asking this question like you asked, we would have evidence to say, after 2023, when you get to office, this was where we are. By 2027, this is where we are again. So right. If we're not able to do that, we will not be able to have a traffic position on it.
Olarewaju Suraj, many thanks for your thoughts on this very, very critical matter. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's switch gears now and look at what happened today at the Presidential Election Tribunal, where the chairman of the Presidential Election Petition Court, Justice Aaron Shimani, has dismissed the application by the PDP and Labour Party for live coverage of court proceedings. The court today unanimously says that the application lacks merit. It was a unanimous decision by the panel which held that the order sought by the petitioner is outside the scope of the petition. It says that the televised signal proceeding is not provided for in any of our laws. The court is, according to the chairman, says it's created by the Constitution and operates under the law by the Court of Appeal. The court, according to the chairman of the panel, says that the court was created to hear and determine the petitions before it and cannot act as an avant-garde. He says it's going to be an undue pressure of allowing cameras into the courtroom and should be avoided, as the impact it will have on witnesses cannot be predicted. The court is said to have also been created to find out the truth and should be allowed to do so. The court, however, held that the request was a novel and not supported with any law in the country for now. But some of the lawyers to the PDP and the Labour Party have been reacting to these immediately after the proceedings of today.
Back here, the court in its wisdom decided that the subject of our application, i.e. the live streaming and open telecast, is not in any way connected with the merits of our petition. The petition is separate, it's ongoing. The application did not succeed to have the televised version of the proceedings relate to the entire world. And as far as we are concerned, we are now set for hearing. Tomorrow we'll be here by God's grace for a pre-hearing report that will determine the progress of the petition and the time the petition will be heard and concluded. The issue of consolidation is one that is compelled by statute, and we have no objection to it. We are prepared to proceed.
Well, they've given their reasons. The court says it's a policy matter. We are not part of the policy-making apparatus of the court, or any court for that matter. We are a council, and our duty is to bring whatever requests we have to the court. If they agree, we say as the court pleases. If they disagree, we still say as the court pleases. So that's the position. They have disagreed, and we are moving on.
Those are the positions of some of the lawyers. One was Eyita Ojagada, and the other lawyer, who is representing the PDP, and the other lawyer represented the Labour Party. But what are the implications of the position of the appeal court, or the Presidential Election Tribunal court, on this matter? Now that they said you cannot televise, what does it mean? What are the implications for those who are asking for this, who will say, look, this will just enable fairness, transparency in the process of delivering justice in relation to the petition against the victory of Bola Tinubu as a president-elect of that 2023 presidential election. What does the law says about the public nature of our court proceedings in Nigeria, if the position of the tribunal is that there are no laws that mandates the court to be able to allow for these? What are the implications? Let's get some perspectives now, everyone. I'm being joined by a very senior lawyer, senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Kayode Adeluola. He joins us from Ikoyi area of Lagos. It's good to see you, Len Elsig, and thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight. Give us an understanding and perhaps shed some light on what this position of the Presidential Election Tribunal Court means. When it struck out, it was a unanimous decision of the 5 panelists on that court today. What does that decision or stance of the court means generally?
Well, thanks for having me again today. I'd just like to say that, like 11 other schools have said, if you remember when they interviewed at the end of the hearing, they said, well, the court has taken a stand and their own attitude is just in this constitution. Now, what has happened is the court has simply said we will remain the way we have always been. They're not going to take a step forward to have cameras coming forward. Ordinarily, a hearing of a court of a trial should be done in public. Now, public does not necessarily mean having everybody come to the presence of justice or sit in our homes and have a reality show. It simply means that there should be functions accessible to members of the public. That's why the architecture report allows you to have a stance of the defense, the bench of the justices, and the judge, and also for the members of the public, as well as this space for journalists. So, to that extent, it is open. I have, on one occasion here on the channel, expressed the thing that maybe if the trial, the hearing should be televised. So that was an expression of sentiment, because I just thought a lot of Nigerians want to see what is going on. So that's not the law. So let us talk about the law. The law provides that cases hearing should be done in public where people can access. The Court of Appeal has an act to set it up. It allows and it empowers the President of the Court of Appeal to issue practice direction if there are reasons for that. And then I think it's the best Court of Appeal. If the Court of Appeal acts, it can have practice direction issued by the President of the Court of Appeal. I think the practice should encourage the President of the Court of Appeal or other needs to take it order of direction, saying, well, we can have cameras coming to the court. So I think that for the sanctity of the hearing, the void of emotions, the void of people doing things that could actually truncate the justice of the matter, I think we should keep the cameras out of the court. I'll tell you why I say as for people truncating the matter. We are in an era where we have artificial intelligence. Can you imagine people who may come into the court with cameras, taking pictures of what's going on with that statement, evidence, and what have you. And then the following one is finding on social media is sorted. It could be a matter of care. Let us have a hearing done properly before the court. Let us have the witnesses also give evidence without being coerced and without being without taking any harm to them. And let us have settled afterwards. The justices have shown us that when we hear the sentence, we don't allow lawyers to come up with technicalities, and then the matter is fully heard, justice is delivered. I need to ask them.
Yeah.
These messages are not me right now. They are identified only by letters and the reason for that. Ordinarily, in civil proceedings, you find the name of the witness, the statement of what is made. In this situation, you do not have that step. There's a reason. This person should be protected. It has temporal rights, for example, in this election which is not passed. Now, you imagine the witness with cameras in front of him. There's a good chance that he might return. He might say things that are not true in the full glare of the cameras, believing that if he does something that could happen to me after the hearing. But that could be something some other people say, it doesn't really matter. Other people, the funeral leader is talking about, this person must be protected. And let us not forget, even in normal situations, a judge hearing a matter can actually clear his fault. And so for the sensitivity of the evidence presented, for the security of the individual giving the good evidence, I need to clear his fault. Everybody who was counsel in the matter was there the litigant to still be. If everyone that situation,
let me jump in quickly. I know that a lot of lawyers will make a reference to Section 36, sub 3 of the Nigerian Constitution that gives the life to the premise upon which everybody's look. The Constitution has, allowed for a public hearing of the court proceedings in Nigeria, except when the Constitution says otherwise. And for those who believe and think that the sensitivity of this matter and the thinking of a lot of Nigerians who believe that most of the things that is being said in the court should be put into a wider viewing of many Nigerians based on the fact that there are those who believe that there needs to be a more transparent process in the delivery of justice, since the court is for the society. And our viewers also need to understand that the courts also abide by the rules guiding them. Apart from our body of laws, the rules guide each of the courts in Nigeria. But when the court says there are no laws mandating the court to televise, what about Section 36? Is it because it wasn't specific about being cameras coming, or what exactly? Give us a sense of what that means.
Said earlier, the court should be accessible to members of the public. It does not necessarily mean that the court should be taken to our respective place. In the line, you could find a situation where the law allows us to say cameras should come into the court. They're not foreign television cameras, so there's local television cameras. But the law does not say you must bring cameras or you should allow cameras to come into the court. So the justices have been very careful in terms of the I believe, and they have simply said, look, there will be an account of the day-to-day proceedings. Everybody who has access to the newspaper, the news reporter, will have an update of what has gone on at every hearing. That in our opinion to start to subside, to subside, and to subside for everyone.
Senior Advocate, there seems to be some, maybe you touched something and your audio had since been disrupted. We may not be able to, we cannot hear you clearly as we were hearing you earlier. But if you can make some adjustment, just as we were speaking earlier and the way things were going earlier, maybe we can hear you. Could you say something so that we know that you're still with us? Fundamentally is wrong with your audio there. We can hear you. It's not very clear. But, let's look at it and perhaps give us your own position of the public perception of this matter, because a lot of people have thought that if there was cameras there, do you think that the court today perhaps lost that public acceptance in the light of what the ruling he gave? Do you think anything whatsoever had been lost in the ruling of today?
Are you hearing? Are you hearing?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Right. I do not think anything has been lost per se, but I think something has been just left. And what we want to realize that we have a body of laws that is dynamic. What Nobody can have it. We are citizens of learn to approach those who make laws for us, whether at the federal level or the state level. What it means is we should speak to our senators who come in now and tell them there is a need for you gentlemen to ensure that there is specific legislation to allow courts to come in during certain circumstances to take the time possibly before. Now, I'll give you an example. If the court is saying your call credit.
All right. We seem to have lost audio with the line sick there. So trying to give us perspectives on the implication of the ruling of courts today, that the courts today dismissed the application of the PDP and Labour Party asking for a live telecast of the proceedings. Mr. Kayode Adeluola is a senior advocate of Nigeria and is speaking with us from Ikoyi area of Lagos. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. Well, that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Akimale. Bye-bye.